cool, unique background that I don't think anyone that's been listening to some of the other videos has heard of yet. Customer service, IT, security, like really cool stuff. And then you just kind of got on the brain health bandwagon, and all of the information that you've had from, other leadership courses and other coaching courses. So if you wanted to kind of give your background and then how you found AIM University, and then how that's kind of tied in with some of the other things that you've been doing in your career.
Yeah, I'd love to share. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's an honor.
I am one that I've been through, probably similar to many, right? We have our own personal family challenges, things that, life throws us. And that's what led me to understand how important it is for a brain healthy lifestyle. Several years back, 4 different doctors gave me 4 different diagnoses for the same child. and when I said, well, why? What's the reason? What's the cause of this ADD, this ADHD, sensory processing disorder, Asperger's? Yeah, nobody can tell me why. Yeah. And that didn't make any sense to me. So I went down that journey, right? Discover root cause, which, as we know, now I know, a lot of us know, it's the brain is root cause. And I think from my background, I've worked at Cisco Systems for the past 20 years, right? So Fortune 50, Silicon Valley based company, and it's all about connectivity, right? Hardware, software, security for our customers, their data network, their voice network, their video network. So it's very much like the brain, where there's hardware and there's software.
I love it.
And I like to think about it. And it's been exciting, right? To share what I've personally gone through, what I've discovered, and then being able to share it with my peers, my colleagues. And yes, I went down the path of the certifications. I really wanted to understand and be able to bring that forward and give and support, provide, pioneer for others to have a better journey than I did. It took me a while to figure it out.
Well, I love that. And how did you actually find the courses?
Oh, it was through one of Dr. Amen's books, right? We all know, the wealth of information out there, all of the books. And it came at a really good time. I remember I was at my wit's end, didn't have answers, very frustrated. And the book literally appeared in my house. My husband he brought it home and he said, oh, I think you're going to find this interesting. It was at my work. Check it out. And I did. And I was on, surprisingly, I have 3 children, so it's busy, but I was going away that weekend with some friends. I had some time to dive in and read it. And wow, I was hooked. It just opened my eyes, and I was, root cause, here we go. This makes sense, right? It was so eye-opening. And I have been a big advocate of Amen clinics and the work and TANA ever since, with my colleagues, friends, family, and has established my own brain health coaching offering, where I'm using a lot of what I learned along with the NeuroLeadership Institute, the brain at work, and learning and going through their certification on result-based coaching, and ensuring that we're all in that state where we can get the insights and really be in that forward state to be our best selves, both, in and out of work.
I love that. So for someone that wouldn't know much about what makes results oriented versus just regular coaching, but how would you kind of describe what that's like? Because coaching should be results oriented, but there's some people in the life coaching world that wouldn't actually see someone if they kind of knew that.
Right. And our frame of reference is coaches in athletics, right? Sports.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought I was doing. I thought I was coaching for years and years. I had led up Cisco's early in career university hire program, global program. And, you do a lot of coaching, but really what it was is mentoring. Now that I look back and I know what I know through the certifications, where coaching is facilitating their best thinking. It's not telling them what to do, right? Athletics and coaching in the traditional sense that we think about is not where you would facilitate their best thinking in a result-based coaching certification. And what I learned through the NeuroLeadership Institute, it's very brain-based. It's very much, how do you get in that state? How do you get the individual you're coaching in the forward state, slightly happy, to bring about insights, new paths forward, right? Get results. Nobody likes to be told what to do, right? That's just us as humans. We don't like to be told what to do. Even our kids, nobody likes to be told what to do. So this too makes a lot of sense, right? When it's your idea, you get that rush, right? That rush to move forward, right? Yeah. You also, through insights, and that's the result piece, moving forward, that momentum, that strategy, taking those actions, you get that through your own thinking. And, you don't have the best thoughts when you're often like trying to problem solve it and you're, really focused on it. You need to be slightly off, thinking of other things, having a quiet mindset, right? Like if you think about like, when does your best thoughts come to you, Fallon? Like when you think about your thoughts.
Usually in the morning. I'm a really heavy sleeper and I have intense dreams, and I usually wake up already realizing that I, in the middle of the night, Googled dream interpretation and then what I was dreaming about. And then I did it and see what it was like. Last night I was with my child, which I don't have a child, but I was holding a baby and kind of like running around and kind of feeling scattered and like I didn't know what I was doing. And then I realized I didn't have a diaper on. And the baby looks at me, he's like, how did you forget my diaper? Yeah. Why can't you be potty trained? So I kind of went through this whole thing and I was like, okay, worry about, I need to focus on my stress management today. From the storms that we had in Atlanta, not having power, this was like the time that I didn't have somewhere to like work. It was weird. My new routine, staying at home and doing everything I need to do. Like, I normally have the same backdrop in all of my videos, and like, I felt out of sorts. And I'm so grateful for my home, and I'm so grateful that I normally have internet, and I'm so grateful that I like working from home. That used to be a really scary thing for me to even consider. So it just immediately went into gratitude. Go to my
that's good.
Work on that, focus on the things that I was excited about today, which obviously talking to you is a big one.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a fun day for me anyway. And so I just had to immediately take that stress dream and turn it into a practice of gratitude and just reflection and focusing on all the stuff that I wanted to accomplish today.
Yeah, that is a great example of how you get your mind in a state to be your best self. Yeah. Right. To be productive. Because it's easy for us to start having the thoughts that bring us down, stress us out. Right. And we're not our best then. Right. You're in more of that fight or flight mode.
Exactly.
What's important with that, and what you said around where you get your best thoughts, it's the morning, right? It's when the mind is quiet. Right. And hotels know this. When we are traveling, like sometimes you'll see a pad at the side of the bed with a pen and it says ideas.
That's so smart. And I never thought about that.
Right? When you wake up, you just write. And it's because you don't have the stress. You don't have the thing whirling. You don't have the to-do list, right? You're not fretting about something. The shower is a popular one.
Definitely.
People get great ideas in the shower.
Definitely.
Right? When you're driving, right? The brain is a connection machine. It's on autopilot most of the time, right? To conserve resources. We know it's a resource hog. So when you're driving and you've done that drive over and over and over again, right? You can get into that mode, that thinking of insights, new ideas. You start solving problems. And this is very much the framework of how to support individuals in the coaching process, is to get them in that state, right? To ensure that you celebrate, you make, small wins, and really drive results. So I've been able to implement that in a big way in my work. And it's amazing. I just started coaching individuals 2 weeks ago, and I had my first goal already accomplished with one of them last week, within a week. It's like, wow. Yeah. When you have the brain and mind with everything you do, right? It's the root. It's behind us all. It's the success, right? That makes us. And I've enjoyed being able to bring it to work. So from personal, from health, and of course, also I've enjoyed also sharing Dr. Amen's work at my work. We're engineers at Cisco. We're engineers in the tech. So, when it comes to problem solving, when it comes to being able to see the data, they need the data, right? We need the data in tech. We need to understand how the technology works. We use data to communicate to our customers, to communicate the business impact. It drives decision making. So spec scans, makes total sense. There's no questions asked, right? We want to see the data so we can make the right decisions. And that is, I just had a session yesterday at Cisco with the Women in Science and Engineering team. And it was exciting, to see the questions and to see how quickly they understood, right? Because a lot of us are just starting to get aware and hopefully get to understanding of how important, the brain is, right? Brain, it is mental and physical health, mental and body health, right? That it takes individuals like us to help connect that for them and be advocates. And engineers get it. Problem solvers, right? Innovative problem solvers, that's tech, a lot of innovation. And that's how, we take care of our customers, right? Through customer success and being fierce advocates of innovation.
I love that. And sometimes I would try to use this example with some of my patients when I was doing intakes and trying to get them to understand the brain kind of is like a computer. And I know that you know a lot about computers. You're walking and carrying your laptop, and it was in a protective case, but it did take kind of a hard fall. Are you going to know immediately if there's problems? Maybe, but maybe you won't. Maybe it'll be a few months from now where things just start to crash. Kind of like with the brain. The brain is really soft. It's just kind of floating around in there. You might have a brain injury as a kid. You might start, people might say like Tommy really changed after that, or they might not. It might be years down the road. You're starting to have issues like in your marriage and at your job. You get a SPECT scan where like, there's a major traumatic brain injury here. What happened? You're like, oh, I slipped and fell on the ice as a kid. And some people were worried because I passed out, but we didn't really think of anything of it. And that was the missing piece. And when you think of it from that perspective of the hardware, it's like you really don't know what it's going to look like until you look.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Only organ, right? That's not regularly looked at.
So weird. Still weird. It's almost 8 years since I've been with the company. And I was using this example the other day. You can't ask someone to run a marathon, and you can't coach them on running a marathon if they have a broken ankle. It's like the same thing with the brain. Like if their brain isn't working right, what can we do to work on getting your brain healthy so that you even more deeper coaching and like really get you to your why and your purpose and your happiness and all of the things that you want out of your life.
Absolutely. 100% agree. It brings you to heights. It brings you to places that you never even thought were possible, right? It's incredible. And it has such implications to everything in life, right? What one might think is that symptom they're going after and they're trying to resolve or decrease. It's just the tip of the iceberg of what gets impacted, right? Because with the brain, it's the organ of judgment, right? And personality, and it's how we think, which then how we feel, which is how we act, right? So it's a ripple effect throughout our lives, our relationships. It's generational. the impact. So it's important. It's impactful work. Everyone in this field, has, such a great role to play to help us all understand, especially now, right?
Exactly.
Anxiety, depression, lack of focus. I hear a lot of. It's just so difficult to focus, right? And to know just the simple things to do, right? There's just such foundational things, daily habits to help us each and every day, help our families each and every day. There's a lot of resources out there to understand that.
That's the thing. That's why we're doing this, right? Like there's so many resources that people don't know about because the status quo with typical psychiatry, typical neurology, typical counseling world really doesn't involve the brain. And that really needs to be the first thing that we're focusing on.
Right. It's a lot of talk, right? I remember Dr. Amen talking about Abraham Lincoln, and what was it? 100+ years ago, right? It was the same practice, talking on a couch, symptom clusters. We have the technology now to actually look at the organ that we're treating, right? So to make that accessible, you see, the clinics growing in locations. It's exciting to see more access for individuals, and then also just all of the other resources, right? All the books, the courses, the coaches like myself, right? There's just so much help and support, but sometimes it's just first the awareness, because culturally and just the myth of we only use 10% of our brain. Most people still think that, right? And it dates back to the 1800s. A professor at Harvard spoke of it.
Weird.
And then it was reinforced by the movie Lucy, right? So of course, if it's in Hollywood, so yeah, there's a lot of information that needs to get out there. A lot of knowledge that needs to really get into the schools as well, right?
That's when we talk about generations. It's like, if you can help yourself, you can help your kids, you're going to be helping their children. I don't know if you've ever heard of the study Dr. Amen references sometimes, where there's these mice and they would get shocked every time they smelled a cherry blossom. And so they'd present a cherry blossom and then zap them. And then they kept doing that until they obviously had learned helplessness and they were just scared of like everything. And then they presented the cherry blossoms to their kids and kids with no zap, and just the scent of the cherry blossoms still caused them to get anxious and scared. Their grandchildren. So people talk about like certain things not being real with genes. It's like, it's real, but it's treatable. Trauma is treatable, physical, emotional, etc., so that it's not being passed on. And especially with the cherry blossom example, I think a lot of it has to do with the limbic system, because that's where our sensory overload is and input. And so, it makes sense if you smell a certain thing, it's going to cause a certain reaction based on some other things, whether or not you know what those are.
Those are the type of studies that need to be in schools.
Yes.
Maybe at least at the high school level, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. That is what will help us change, generations. Because when you look back at what we learned in high school and school, it hasn't changed, right? But there's so much research in the last, 10 years? There's more research in the last 10 years around the brain than whatever in history, when you look at PubMed, right? So like we need to drive that. And I'm excited to be part of it, right? 8 years ago, I was one of those clueless ones. But now, through the, personal struggles, needing to face us, and figuring out root cause, and knowing, I'm at Cisco, still at Cisco, been here for 20 years. It's all about problem solving, right? Being curious, continuously learning. That's tech, right? That's the industry. And I feel very grateful. I'm very fortunate to have the resources, the know-how, the background that I have, to not take that first diagnosis as fact, right? And to be like, well, it's not 100% making sense for me. Let me get another opinion, right? I'm a very high verified, very much an engineer at heart in that way. And to question to question. And I think more of us that question will push this out to the masses, push this knowledge out. And, the work that Dr. Amen has done is just, pioneered. It's just been transformative for so many lives, as we all know.
Yeah, I'm super grateful for him every day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was there anything else that you wanted to share? You've been amazing. And I love hearing your viewpoint on things. It's just so eye-opening.
Thank you.
On another level of intelligence.
Oh yeah. It's a different industry, right? It's a different look at it a bit, right? Maybe. And I'm excited to share within the tech industry, right? We're ones that have been working from home for over 20 years. We have brought that technology to our customers, working with voice and video and WebEx, right? This is what we do. This is what we bring to our customers. So when it comes to working around the clock, when it comes to stress, when it comes to, deadlines and just the speed of innovation that we work at, it creates burnout. It creates anxiety. It creates a lot of fallout. So I'm excited to have that unique opportunity to bring this forth. And I went through a lot of resources, right? A lot of trial and error to get to that point of root cause. It took me a bit to get there, and it's a journey, right? It continues to be a journey. But what I have done, and as a resource for anybody, is I put together a brain boosting checklist out on my website. It's just like a free download. You can grab it. And it's what I recommend and what I implement for me and my family is, how to start your day all the way to the end of the day, and how to track your symptoms and look at these just simple habits to implement that can make some tremendous, huge results. So that is brainhealthcoach.com.
Perfect. That's super cool. I love that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people are always like, when you journal and track things, because it works. And this is so specific to brain health, and I love it.
Yeah, it is. You got to have a starting point, right? It's important to understand where you start from, because it's, you want to be able to measure it, right?
Exactly.
And that's part of our brain, right? We make these incremental improvements, and we don't actually recognize often where we started from.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
That's what the checklist does. It provides that daily plan, brain healthy habits, and then it tracks 14 symptoms, the physical and the mental symptoms related to brain health. So, help change how you feel, how you think, how you act, reduce, some of those symptoms. And I see, results from individuals myself, less than a week for sure. Sometimes a lot sooner.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had misspoke on the website. It's brainhealthcoach.com. Then you do the / checklist.
Okay, good. I was like, I think, yeah.
There you go.
Very cool. Well,
thank you so much for having me, Fallon.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was so awesome. So good to see you. And thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.